Yeah, our COMP006 phase 3 study looking at 25, 10, and 1 milligram of COMP360 did demonstrate at our primary endpoint of week 6 a 3.8-point difference between the 25 and 1 milligram arms at the primary endpoint of week 6 relative to baseline. In treatment-resistant depression, which is the population that the study looked at, typically a 3-point reduction in MADRS is considered clinically meaningful, and this was 3.8. In terms of how the difference of 3.8 between the 25 and 1 milligram arms we saw compares to other studies of treatment-resistant depression, as a reminder, there is really only one marketed pharmaceutical product right now for treatment-resistant depression, and that is Spravato. In their pivotal trials of adjunctive use of Spravato for their initial approval, their difference was a treatment effect of around 4. So this is very comparable, but notably, that was looking at an effect at day 28 after 8 treatments 4 weeks later. For us, we saw a comparable effect size with a single treatment measured 6 weeks later. As far as understanding which patients are most likely to benefit from COMP360, at this point, we likely don't have enough information really to characterize who's more likely to respond. We did report some of the baseline characteristics of these patients, but at this point, we've just received the top-line data. It will take some time for us to go through that and analyze various characteristics, secondary outcomes, additional data that we don't have in hand yet. So we hope to be able to uncover some characteristics of patients that will help us to understand who are more likely to benefit, but we don't yet know. While we don't know the exact mechanism of any depression treatment, imaging studies of psilocybin show acute effects on brain network circuitry that may lead to lasting changes in thinking and mood. The rapidity of effect we've now demonstrated across multiple studies suggests a differentiated mechanism from existing antidepressants, which typically take weeks to months to work. What we've shown so far in parts A of 005 and part A of 006 is the effect of 1 or 2 treatments measured 6 weeks later. And what that has shown us is that a second administration on a fixed interval 3 weeks later may have additional benefit. Importantly, as the patients from 005 have now been followed through week 26 with the potential for a second treatment in that study, it now appears that 1 or 2 administrations for those who benefit may be durable out to at least 6 months. Yeah, the Part B 26-week data from COMP005 tells us a couple of things. Number one, it demonstrates the longer-term safety of COMP360. It also allows us to see the impact of a second treatment for those who were not in remission at week 6 or who subsequently relapsed. They were eligible for another blinded treatment. And one of the most notable findings in Part B is that those who had at least a clinically meaningful benefit in Part A, and that is those who had at least a 25% reduction in their MADRS from baseline. Those who had a second treatment, about 40% of them then went into remission. And so in total, what this is showing us is that with 1 or 2 treatments of COMP360, patients may be able to sustain a benefit out to at least 6 months, which is the latest time point we've measured yet. Yeah, some notable findings in 005 and 006 is that we saw in the 005 study, which is the one versus an inert placebo, that about 25% of participants had a clinically meaningful benefit. In 006, that number has risen to 39% after a second administration of 25 milligrams of COMP360. The significance of that level of MADRS reduction, a 25% reduction that is clinically meaningful, is that this is a level of improvement that is very likely to translate into really meaningful benefit for patients, particularly those who have treatment-resistant depression. Even modest decreases in symptoms can have an outsized impact on the course of their care and the quality of their life. In the case of the definition of a clinically meaningful benefit, this is based on work done by John Rush and others looking at the Spravato data set and correlating a 6-point reduction in MADRS from baseline to secondary measures like the CGI, the Sheehan Disability Scale, some patient-reported outcomes that show that a 6-point reduction in MADRS correlates with scores on those scales that indicate a meaningful improvement in patients' overall well-being. If we look at our baseline MADRS score of 32, and you divide 6 by 32, that's about 19%. So 25% reduction is comfortably above that threshold, which again is an indicator of clinically meaningful benefit for patients. We've now demonstrated that COMP360 has a highly differentiated profile from Spravato. In the transformed studies, Spravato didn't statistically separate until day 28 and requires 8 administrations in the first month and 10 by the time of our 6-week primary endpoint. It also needs to be administered weekly or every other week to maintain benefit, which is highly burdensome to patients and their caregivers that need to drive them to multi-hour appointments. COMP360 statistically separates by the day after administration, and 1 or 2 treatments may yield sustained benefit for responders out to at least 26 weeks.